take one.
Why have you got a hat on?
Because I'm a little bit cold. Although it's summer, I just got, you know...
It's not summer yet.
Well...
I think we've got a while to go yet.
We're easing into it, but I'm just a bit...
Okay. I think you might be wearing a coat that crackles. So apologies if the sound is all over the shop. It's like, look at you with your little hat on.
I know. I have still got hair.
You haven't shaved it all off. That would be funny though, wouldn't it?
But it's just sometimes you just particularly working in the garden. If the sun's not out, you can get really...
I'm sorry, I hadn't realised you were working in the garden.
I'm always in the garden. Waking moment, I'm in the garden from the moment I wake up.
I had a conversation this week with a younger friend of mine who was not bemoaning, just we were talking about the fact that he doesn't think he will ever get on the housing ladder. 30s, but where you go to work and you're working to live, you're not living to work. Whichever way round is good.
The expression is even worse than that now. I think it's you're working to exist.
Yes, because
you're not even living.
Literally getting by. And yet he's paying considerably more in rent than a mortgage would ever cost. Yeah. And it's like, why hasn't this system righted itself? It's just got worse.
I'm going back to, in my memory now, I'm going back to the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
You look like you're going back to the early 90s.
I feel like I'm at E17. And I can remember renting my first flat.
Yes.
And the rent was extortion on it, even then.
Yep.
By today's standards, it was nothing.
Yeah.
But then it was a lot of money. And I can remember saying to my friends at work, how much is your mortgage? And their mortgage was half
what you're paying in rent.
paying in rent.
Yeah.
But at the time, you couldn't get a mortgage because you needed to have the whole stability, you needed to have the deposit, you needed... But now, I look at, or I hear about some of the rents that people are paying, and I just think, I don't even earn that much.
No. So my friend who's in a good job, full-time job, with good prospects, was offered a mortgage of, I think, £130,000.
Yeah.
And lives in London. What you can't buy anything for £130,000.
Famously, you can't even get a broom cupboard in Knightsbridge for that. That's the point. Yeah.
But in Milton Keynes.
No, Milton Keynes.
Or further afield. It's just it's outrageous, and that's all because of the multiples of salary versus what a mortgage and house price is now.
Probably be about 100 miles out of London before you could get something livable for 130.
And then how much are you paying to get into London every day on a season ticket? Yeah. It's just outrageous. I guess this all goes back to the 1980s when they sold off the council houses and the social housing and then didn't build... No, okay, whatever you think of that policy, the fact they didn't build more houses...
Well, that was a decision to take the money out of local authority, sell off their housing stock, but they never got the money. It went to central funds. So it financed tax cuts and investment that way. So local authorities were left without any housing stock and any rent.
Yes, but it doesn't stop that whole thing of 40, 50 years now of selling all the houses, but not building any more. And it's like, how did you think this was going to play out? And I don't think people did think. I don't think when we were young, I think when we were in our early 20s, I don't think we thought like that. In 2001, you could get 120% mortgage. They would pay you to go and live in a house.
If you want my honest opinion...
I do.
Okay, I think no matter who was in power, nobody is thinking more than 5 to 10 years ahead.
Because it's not worth their while.
Absolutely, because we won't be in power then. And even if our party is, we won't be.
Yeah.
So therefore, their legacy is always, what can we do now and the impact we can have right now? Well, of course, if you sell off your family silver, at any given time, you can say, hey, we're wealthy. But
you haven't got the silver anymore.
You haven't got the silver anymore. Or you haven't got the... Yeah, if you own 2 houses and you say, oh, I've sold one, now I've got loads of money in the bank. Yeah, but you were having rent every month, paying off the... And now what's happened is those few people that are wealthy enough to be able to afford housing stock and snapping it up can now charge whatever they want in rent, and often from the local authorities paying it to put families in it. So now the same house that they used to own 30 years ago has been sold off and is now being re-let back to them to put social housing people into it. But instead of the council owning that house, somebody else owns it now, and they're charging 10 times what the council would have charged as a family in there. And it's the obscenity of that.
Yeah.
That has now created a whole market of... My father always used to say, bricks will earn you more money than you go into work. So
well, potentially, certainly back in the day.
Well, no, even now.
Even
now, if you've got the money to buy a house, you will earn more off of that than going to do a 9 to 5.
And it shouldn't have ever been that way. But exactly.
Through the cost, the housing market. The problem is those at the lower end of the demographics
can't even get there.
They can't even get them.
All right,
can't even get into rent.
Well, while we talk about that, what is wealthy? And I think it depends on where you look. I've had this fascinating discussion earlier on in the week. What is wealthy? If you're here, then this, slightly above it, is wealthy. What is, go on.
I think you're wealthy these days if you don't have to worry about the cost of heating a house, feeding a house, food for the house, and you can afford a holiday without thinking, can we afford this? I think
that is genuine wealthy these days.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think you need to have $500,000 in the bank to be counted. Just being wealthy is not being able, not having to shop around.
But so why don't the £500,000 who have £500,000 in the bank? Why don't they think they're wealthy? Is it always because they're chasing more? Because they don't.
No. I think they know they're wealthy.
They just don't. Talk about it.
Just don't talk about
okay.
It. I think if you're measuring wealth, well, if you're $500,000, it's like who on earth wants to live to be 100? A 99-year-old. That's
good point.
It's the same principle, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've got $500,000, you want $1 million. If you've got $1 million, you want $2 million. It's the same scenario all over again. But to me, I think if your standard of life is that you don't have to worry about the food bill, you don't have to worry about the gas bill, the electric bill, and you've got a car,
you're very lucky.
Got a holiday coming up that you're not thinking, how on earth can I afford to drag three
pay
kids
for that?
And five of us onto this holiday, and I don't have to take them out of school to do it. I think that's pretty wealthy by today's standards.
And there aren't that many people in that bracket.
No,
it's a very small percentage.
And I think you drive down most streets and you go, look at those nice houses. But it doesn't mean anyone's got any money in their pocket.
No,
They're
exactly
just
right.
paying a mortgage that they can ill afford with money that they haven't got, and now scrimping on everything else.
So should they move? Should that housing stock go back?
Well, I'll tell you what it has.
I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing that out there.
Moving further. So if you move further away from the cities, the metropolis.
Because you still need the same amount of space. If you've got 3 kids, you still need the same amount of space. Yeah.
So I'm going to use where my grandparents lived in Norfolk, in the real rurals of Norfolk. When I go back there now and I look at the prices of the properties,
scary, isn't it?
What was 15,000, 16,000 for a little tiny cottage, and because there was no work there, it was a retirement. It was the 80s. Now, because work can be done via the internet, that people don't need to travel into and working from home since lockdown. So people are migrating away from the cities because they only need to do that journey into London twice a week, not 5 days a week. So therefore, So I think that is adding to the cost of the properties in the rurals.
Is there an answer to the probably 22 to 35, maybe even early 40s? Is there an answer to that generation who feels they will never get on the housing ladder, who feels that they have been let down consecutively by our generation?
They've not only been let down by the cost of living, they've been let down by this whole generation of 0 hours contracts.
Yeah.
So they haven't even got stable work.
There's no stability in work.
Because the legislation has allowed companies to go, do you know what? We only need half that workforce at certain times. Why are we employing these people? Why don't we just zero contract them? Why don't we agency them? Or what? Either way, how can you get a mortgage when you've got no guaranteed hours? When you've got no guaranteed income?
I'm grumpy about it. I don't have any answers, I'm afraid.
Legislation is the answers. When you think about the legislation...
I mean, you're talking about entirely changing the whole system. That's not just legislation.
No. I'm not talking about changing it. I'm saying about reverting it. When you think about the legislation that is in places like France, if you're an employee in France, it is virtually impossible
to sack you.
It's a little bit the other way. It's a little bit...
Yeah.
But you are stable, you've got guaranteed income, it's virtually impossible. They have to jump through hoops of fire to let you go. Let's not call you sacking it. But actually, and then there's us where we've got no... And America, it's even worse. You can get rid of people like that. You don't... I think, we're somewhere leaning towards that way, but actually we need a little bit more...
We've always leaned towards that way.
But we need a little bit more stability for the employees, because as things become centralised, you think about, if you go down, in most towns, the average industrial estate might have had 30 warehouses on it now. Now it's got 3. It might have an Amazon warehouse, it might have an Argos warehouse, whatever. But now you've got thousands of people working in one building now, where there would have been dozens per building. And you've got to go, if I can get a job there, I'll get one there. Now, that's the place to work. If you don't get a job here locally where I live, we've got an Amazon warehouse, and they're struggling to find people. Because the working conditions, the working conditions is fine, but the contract means I can have you when I want you, and actually if I don't want you, I can send you. Who wants to live like that, where they go to work, they could be travelling 20 miles to work, be told, sorry, we don't need you.
You're right. Nobody wants to live like that, but that is what they're being forced to live by.
Because that's all there is.
How did we get to this?
We got to this because corporations have got greedy and gone, but this is what we want, and they're very powerful at lobbying.
I'm sorry it's a bit bleak. We've had a couple of bleak episodes. Oh, I think one of the microphones has done something weird. I reckon you might be on mute.
How did that happen?
I
I'm hoping
don't
that came
know.
through.
Do you see? Because it's red over there. So we'll have a check of that. But if you've got any ideas, send it in the comments.